Hello and welcome to The Art of Decluttering. I'm your host, Amy Revell. The kids are back at school, the kids are back at school, the kids are back at school, all the kids are back at school. Yay, they're back at school. It was a really awesome summer break, but it was time for them to go back, hang out with their mates, stretch their brains, move their bodies, be social, and for my house to be a little quieter and my pantry to be a little fuller. Because, oh my gosh, children eat a lot over the summer holidays. Welcome to the last episode in our series of the Back to School series. We've got a guest with us next week. We're not talking about school. We're back to talking about minimalism and right-sizing and downsizing in your home and all of the good things. But today I want to talk to you about extracurricular activities. Because when school goes back, inevitably all the other activities that our kids do also go back. And so I want to talk to you about how we can manage those, how we can deal with all the stuff that comes with those extracurricular activities. But first of all, I wanted to read to you two beautiful reviews that have been sent through on Apple Podcasts. One's a 5-star review. It's titled Fangirl, and it's actually from one of my friends, Ash. And this is what she writes. I've had the honour of knowing Amy as a friend before I knew her as the Queen of Decluttering. I was always a fan of her for the simple fact that she's just really cool and a genuinely nice human. How nice is this? But when I realised how freaking amazing she was at something that I aspired to be amazing at, she went up even more notches. Ash, you were too kind. I love being part of Amy's journey from reading her book, Simply Organised, then looking forward to her emails with decluttering tips and tricks, and finally being an avid follower of this amazing podcast. When I bought the book, I was just showing support for a friend, but my life has been greatly enriched from that moment on, and my house and my family thank you for that. I've recommended The Art of Decluttering to so many people I know that I should be part of the marketing team. Well done, Amy. I'm your number one fangirl. Thank you, Ash. It is really kind when a friend takes time to leave a genuine review. And the next one is from, I think it's the US or it could be Australia. It actually doesn't say, but it says, glad to see Amy back. And it's a 5-star review by Being a JJ. I tuned out of this podcast a few months ago for a couple of reasons, but I'm glad to see Amy is back, owning the show with her practical advice. The episodes are short, sharp and shiny and to the point, which is awesome when you are busy. So thank you so much for that. It is normal to dip in and out of podcasts. I certainly do that myself. Sometimes I'll binge and I'll listen to a lot of them, but I really do enjoy the weekly podcasts that I know, like, hey, every Monday I know that I'm getting this particular podcast in my feed, or I love listening to the Squiz every weekday morning and now on Saturdays. So if you are a weekly listener or whether you binge and then have a break, I'm just always grateful for you. I'm grateful for your listenership and your community. Let's jump in and talk a little bit about extracurricular activities. Let's talk about the activities that involve equipment, because there is so much equipment that goes with kids' after-school activities. Even if it's just something, as simple as swimming, you've got caps and goggles, and if you've got kids with long hair, you might have shampoo and conditioner, you've got bathers, you've got towels. And that's a lot of things, and they start off dry and then they end up wet and everything needs washing and things get sticky, and there's so much stuff that goes into these extracurricular activities that we have for kids. They don't understand it, and neither should they, because, that's just part of being a kid, is you don't understand all that goes into loving and caring for you. But I just want to make life a bit easier for you if you're a parent, or if you know a parent, this would be a great episode to forward on to them. When it comes to swimming, I think the best example that I have seen of how to keep those particular equipment and rhythm with the swimming bags is one of my first ever clients, so 8 or so years ago. In their laundry, they had 3 hooks, and they were for the kids' swimming bags. And so what they did is they had weekly swimming lessons for their children. And so when they got home from swimming, the children would go straight into the laundry, would hang up their swimming bags, take out the wet bathers and the towel, or if they were still wearing the wet bathers, pop them straight into the washing machine and then go and dry or have a shower or whatever they were going to do. And that meant that things weren't going manky in the bag, because it really only takes like 12 to 24 hours for chlorinated or wet clothes or sweaty clothes, which, trust me, as the boys get older and as you get teenagers, is way worse than if it's just wet from a swimming pool. They start to go smelly really quickly. So if you can have a space in your laundry for things like swim bags, it means that when the washing comes in and the bathers and the towels are dry, you can put them straight back into the swimming bag. My biggest tip when it comes to any of the extracurricular activities, whether it's basketball or dancing or calisthenics or karate, is that you have a home where all of the things live for that activity. So for instance, if it's swimming, you might hang it up in the laundry, or you might have a spot in their bedroom. My boys play basketball, so they've got a basketball bag that has their basketball shoes, mouth guard, their basketball itself. There's often a drink bottle, there's an asthma puffer in there, and that is the bag that they take to every basketball game. But the beautiful thing is it's also what they can take to training. So if you've got kids that have training and then the actual activity at a different time, lots of sports do that, then have one bag for everything and get everybody involved in either the transport or the activity themselves, is to put things straight back in there. So when the washing arrives back clean in their bedroom, don't put it up, don't hang your netball skirt up, don't put your basketball shirt away in the wardrobe. Put it straight into the bag. And that will just make your life so much easier. No one's running around going, I can't find my basketball shorts, or I can't find this, or I can't find that. It's all there. It's in the bag. If you need to just pick it up and run, if you forget about it and someone has to run in the house on the way to the sport, so much easier. If you're thinking about like dancing, you might want to keep hair stuff in there. You might have their dancing shoes and their dancing uniform. In the calisthenics bag might be their rods and clubs and... Actually, let's be honest, rods and clubs is all I know about calisthenics, but you might have the other calisthenics things in there as well. In Elijah's cricket bag, there's the helmet and the pads and the balls, and like everything is in there. And it really does make life just that little bit simpler. It can be really tricky to know where to keep these bags. For us, we've kept them in the kids' rooms. We don't have anywhere, apart from where the school bags hang at the front door, we just didn't have space. So we've made space in their wardrobes. Just the bottom of the wardrobe, that's where they go. And it's easy. Grab it, go, do your activity, come home. And then all my boys need to do, and all maybe your children would need to do, is just take out anything that needs washing. And then, you know, when the washing comes back and they're putting it away, go straight in the bag. Why don't we take a quick break, and I'm going to talk to you a little bit about routines when it comes to extracurricular activities. So I'll speak to you in just a minute. If you've got kids that are doing after-school activities that you go straight from school pickup to the activity, I would suggest that on those mornings, if possible, if there's room in the car, get them to pack that bag, whatever activity they're going to, in the car in the morning. That way you don't have to be responsible for it, and you shouldn't be responsible for it. So when you pick them up, there's no, Mum, why didn't you pack my karate stuff? It's like, actually, that's not my responsibility. And if it's all together in a bag, even if it's just in a Coles bag or a backpack that you get from the op shop, it doesn't have to be fancy. It doesn't have to be branded. It doesn't have to be on wheels. It doesn't have to be anything special. It can just be one bag that's designated for that thing. And so getting them to put that straight into the car the morning of the activity is a great tip so that you don't get stuck having a child having a meltdown because they don't have the right uniform or the right belt or the right swimming cap and all of those types of things. Have a routine when the kids get home too. We talked about having them put the clothes straight in the wash. One of the things I've noticed is when kids get home from after school activities, they're often tired and hungry. And so their natural inclination will be walk in the door, dump the bag, go to the fridge or pantry. My boys will often go straight to the shower because they're hot and sweaty. But if you can just have like that one tweak in your routine that the bag gets put away and anything that needs washing comes out, I promise you that will really change your evenings, your afternoons, and the way that your home runs week on week. So it may not make much of a difference at the time when the bag gets dumped at the front door and the clothes are left in there. But when you go back to it in 5 or 7 days' time, that's when you're going to pay the consequences for it. So if you can do something for your future self and help your children learn that what you do now might take maybe 20 seconds, will actually save you a lot of stress and anxiety and time in the future. One of the things that I have been thinking about a lot, I was talking to a friend the other day and she was with her family at cricket. And my mum used to do something quite similar, and that was to have an after-school activity bag. If you've got children that need to come to the after-school activity but are not actually involved. When I was growing up, 3 of my sisters did dancing. And I did not. I played basketball and my sisters did dancing. And so I would sit at dancing classes about 3 times a week. Luckily, I loved drawing and I loved reading. And so I would often take a book, or I would take my pack of Derwents and a little pad of white paper, and I would, be happy to do my thing. But if you've got smaller children, what if you as a parent had an after-school activity bag that you packed and you took with you to those activities? So it might be a picnic bag that you can zip up. I would recommend it's something that you can close. And in there, you could keep some special snacks. You could keep some Primas, like those popper drink bottles. You could have some books and some toys that are just kept in the car for those moments of we're sitting at somebody else's extracurricular activity. And even throwing back to our episode last week, one of the things I used to do is if one child had an after-school activity, then I would do the other child's reader while we were sitting and waiting. So we would kind of knock off something. So when we got home, we were one step ahead than coming home and then having to listen to 2 class readers before it was bed and dinner and all of the things. So you could just have something simple as a bag. It could be something as a little esky that you can just leave in the boot of the car, and have just some things that will entertain them, have some fun things, have some things that they don't get to play with at other times. So it could be, each term maybe you create a little bag of extracurricular activity things for the children that are actually at the gym or doing, the gymnastics classes or the dancing or the swimming or the cricket or whatever it is. I hope that is helpful for you. After school activities are a privilege. They're not something, they are so expensive. They take up a lot of time. But if you can do it well, it can reduce some of that stress on you as a family. There are certainly clients that I've worked with whose children do after school activities every night of the week. Our family preference, we've always tried to just keep it to 1 activity per term. However you do it, using some of the tips that I've shared with you today will make it a little bit easier, and get your kids to be responsible for their own activities and really have a think about what do they need? What can stay in the bag instead of staying elsewhere, even if they're not using it every week. Even if at dancing they're not using the hairnet and the bobby pins every week, but actually it makes sense just to keep it in there for the times when they do need it. I hope that's been really helpful. As of today, we are back to weekly episodes on a Monday. Sometimes when I get the bit of the muse, there'll be midweek episodes that, as people have been reporting back, they're loving the shorter episodes. I think we've had a couple that have just clicked over 20 minutes, but mostly we're between 10 and kind of 16 minutes. So I hope that is working for you. You're able to put me on, have a listen, do some decluttering, get some ideas, get some hacks that you can use around the house. And let me know if you've got any requests for episodes, people that you'd like me to interview this year. I am open and ready to hear from you. Until then, have an amazing week and enjoy the freedom. I would like to acknowledge the Wurundjeri people who are the traditional custodians of the land this podcast is recorded on. I would also like to pay respects to their elders, both past and present, of the Kulin Nation, and extend that respect to other Indigenous Australians. Thank you so much for joining me today. If you enjoyed today's episode, I would love you to rate and review the show on your podcast app. That will help others to find the Art of Decluttering podcast as well. If you'd like any more information, you can visit theartofdecluttering.com.au, and I would love to see you in my Facebook group. Just search the Art of Decluttering community on Facebook and join today. I hope that you have an incredible rest of your day and enjoy the freedom.